Divine and royal greetings, family. Shayola Benta here, along with.
Divine and royal greetings. This is Sister Priya, and this is Currency Conversation with Sisters.
Yay!
Give
Welcome back.
thanks.
Welcome back. Give thanks. Give thanks. So, first and foremost, I would like to start off with I definitely strive to play a replay last week. I don't know what happened, but I said I'll just make a little, hey, that was me
Mhm.
on that. So, shout out to someone shared it, and I was like, no, not that one. But
Oh,
we give
mhm.
thanks for that. So today we are going to be talking about the Wealth Builders Power Call, the daily Power Call. Well, not necessarily the Power Call, but what the Power Call has done and taught us. And this topic came as I was traveling back from Maryland to Richmond. So happy to be home safely. Um, just this idea of mindset. I was listening to the presentation call with Professor G, aka Greg McKay, and he said something that really stuck out to me, so I ended up posting it. And what I realized is that someone said it in the comments of that post, no matter how much money we make, it really is all about the mindset, how you manage, rather, which is a mindset. So that brought me back to a power call that was played, I think, late last week. But basically, no, it was Friday. Shout out to Dr. Lakeisha McKnight because she is who played it. The 6 ways of building generational wealth. And some of the stories that were told was so interesting. So that brings me to the title, What We Learn on the Power Call, which is so much. And we are encouraged every day to plug in, plug in, plug in so that we can get this education, which comes to us again in so many different ways on this one platform. So I want to show some of what she showed on Friday. And we also put the link for the full video in the chat so you can go back and take a look at that. So let me get it. And I queued it up, y'all. So we should be good to go. But mother, why I pull this up, any questions, not questions, thoughts as it relates to building generational wealth?
Well, it starts with education, doesn't it?
And there you have it, folks. It starts with education. All right, so I did not cue it up the way that I thought, but here we go. Uh-oh, hold on, y'all. It's a comment.
It's great to have you guys on. Get your paper and pen ready. I'd probably say we've put...
Pausing for effect. Mother, can you hear that?
Yes.
Perfect.
400 hours of research into today's webinar. You're going to want to get the webinar today. We'll give access to people that stick around till the very end. There's going to be a bunch of different things you'll get. We're going to cover a lot of different families. I've called multiple estate planners, some that I'm dealing with myself, some estate planners that deal with billionaires where they have, 31 families of $13 billion in net worth that we're dealing with, my own setup. And I just can't wait to share this with you. I know we've been getting a lot of commentary on people that want to learn about this at a time like this. So let's get right into it. Look, if you follow Victimi's content, I know a few different things about you. Number one, you work very hard for your money. Number two, you're an entrepreneur. Number three, you're an entrepreneur. Number four, you want to constantly figure out ways to improve. And when we see the economy today with the direction inflation is going, or the market being as volatile as it is, you got to figure out a way to protect yourself because the value dollar keeps going lower. And that doesn't sit well with me. A long time ago, I decided to invest into gold and precious metals. This is real kilo of gold. I'm holding 3 kilos of it right here in my hands. One of the ways to go about protecting yourself against what's happening with the market and inflation is to buy silver or gold. And I'm happy to announce that we have decided to partner with Goldco. So give Goldco a call today to learn more about protecting your savings. And as a Valuetainer viewer, you could get up to $10,000 in free silver. Yes, that's $10,000 in free silver when it comes down to buying precious metals. Reputation matters. That's why I've partnered with Goldco. Call them today at 855-598-2758 or click the link below to learn more about goldcode.com.
Hold on one moment. Let me just come back. Are you all having challenges seeing me or
I
seeing it?
I see it.
You can see it? Okay, let me go back in. One moment. Uh-oh. Let me.
It's great to have you guys on. Get your paper and pen ready. I'd probably say we've put 400 hours of research into today's webinar. You're going to want to get the webinar today. We'll give access to people that stick around till the very end. There's going to be a bunch of different things you'll get. We're going to cover a lot of different families. I've called multiple estate planners, some that I'm dealing with myself, some estate planners that deal with billionaires where they have, 31 families of $13 billion in net worth that we're dealing with, my own setup. And I just can't wait to share this with you. I know we've been getting a lot of commentary on people that want to learn about this at a time like this. So let's get right into it. Look, if you follow Victama's content, I know a few different things about you. Number one, you work very hard for your money. Number two.
Okay, so it looks like it's not playing properly. Hold on.
Yeah, I can hear
So
it.
for you,
Am I supposed to see something? I mean, I see
yeah,
a screen.
absolutely.
I hear
Okay,
him
then that
talking.
definitely was. Okay, hold on one moment. See, when you think you got it all queued up and ready to go. Okay, hold on. One moment.
Multiple estate planners, some that I'm dealing with myself, some estate planners that deal with billionaires where they have, 31 families of $13 billion in net worth that we're dealing with, my own setup. And I just can't wait to share this with you. I know we've been getting a lot of commentary on people that want to learn about this at a time like this. So let's get right into it. Look, if you follow Victama's content, I know a few different things about you. Number one, you work very hard for your money. Number two, you're an entrepreneur. Number three, you're an entrepreneur. Number four, you want to constantly figure out ways to improve. And when we see the economy today with the direction inflation is going, or the market being as volatile as it is, you got to figure out a way to protect yourself because the value dollar keeps going lower. And that doesn't sit well with me. A long time ago, I decided to invest into gold and precious metals. This is real kilo of gold. I'm holding 3 kilos of it right here in my hands. One of the ways to go about protecting yourself against what's happening with the market and inflation is to buy silver or gold. And I'm happy to announce that we have decided to partner with Goldco. So give Goldco a call today to learn more about protecting your savings. And as a Valuetainer viewer, you could get up to $10,000 in free silver. Yes, that's $10,000 in free silver when it comes down to buying precious metals. Reputation matters. That's why I've partnered with Goldco. Call them today at 855-598-2758 or click the link below to learn more about goldco.com. Once again, that's 855-598-2758. Okay, so a few things. Number one, how to get the most out of today's webinar. Number one, close out all your tabs that you have. Take notes. Engage in the chat. You're going to see a lot of commentary in this one here. This is a quote, and you'll see why we're going to talk about Vanderbilt a lot in today's webinar. He once said, any fool can make a fortune. It takes a man of brains to hold on to it. We'll see if he was able to maintain to a lot of his fortune and his family. But again, turn off your computers. Turn off your tabs. Set your phones aside. This could be one of those types of messages that can get you to think about your family legacy in a completely different way. I remember years ago when I sat there and I said, what kind of a life do you want to build, Pat, when it comes down to generational wealth? I was dating a girl and I was asking myself, would you let your daughter marry you? I was 23 or 24 years old at the time. I said, I wouldn't let your daughter marry a guy like you today. We got to get our act together. And then I started thinking about, trying to adjust to the American culture where, kids do sleepover and all this other stuff. I said, later on in life, when they want to do sleepover, are you comfortable with kids sleeping over other people's house? Are you comfortable later on when you're a grandfather with your grandkids wanting to go to your kids' in-laws' house instead of your house? What are you going to do for them to come to you one day? What kind of kids do you want to raise? What kind of a family do you want to build? These are thoughts that I had very, very early on when I was coming up to see what was important to me, what wasn't important to me. And I'm sure many of you that are on this webinar, you probably thought about those things as well. I'm probably not alone on that subject. So why this topic? Few different things. Why now? Number one, how I make content. I make content based on whatever I'm learning today or going through today. So if I'm doing a video on how to raise money, I'm raising money, or I just raised tens of millions of dollars. If I'm going through selling a company or hiring or firing or investments or anything that I'm teaching you is because I just went through or I'm currently learning because it's a topic that I think about a lot. So how it's evolved. So why generational wealth? I was talking to my kids the other day, and it was a very interesting conversation. This is about a month and a half ago. Because this has been the content that I've been thinking about a lot, we were sitting there and I said, hey, Tico, Dylan, I got a question for you. They said, what? I said, what happens to daddy's money if he dies? And Tico and Dylan, they both say, well, daddy, the money goes to mommy. I said, okay, you're smart. So I didn't say mommy and daddy. I said, so what happens if mommy and daddies die and what should happen with the money? And my oldest said, well, the money should go to me. I'm the oldest. And you see my youngest son, he's like, well, that's not fair. How about me? I should get some of the money. So then Tico and Dylan, they say, well, daddy, I think half of it should go to Tico, half of it should go to me. And my oldest says, I think that's fair, 50-50. Then my daughter is eavesdropping in the conversation. She says, well, how about me? I should get some of the money. And you see the brother, it's so interesting while they're going through it. You see the brother say, well, Senna, we would take care of you. She says, that's not fair. Do I get any money myself? And she's like, well, I think we should probably give some money to her. Then I said, how about Brooklyn, the fourth baby? She's 17 months. Well, daddy, she's too young right now. So what if she's not young later on? Well, we'll take care of her. Well, should she get some of the money? I think she should. And then eventually I said, well, what if one of you guys decides to do bad things in your life? You go to jail, you do drugs, you do alcohol, and you're not responsible with money. You're making a mess with your life. You're not setting a good example. And you see all of them say, I don't think that kid should get anything. And I said, interesting that you guys are saying it now, because that's what's in the trust, where you have to make certain decisions the proper way, or else you're not going to be participating in any of that stuff. And the reason why I'm saying this is because if you do the generational wealth the right way, not only can you keep your family closer, if you don't do it the right way, there's so much infighting that they don't want to be around each other. You're going to see some of the families, those that did it right and kept the families together, and those that didn't do it right. So some of the things that we'll be covering today is a few different things. We're going to talk about 6 components of generational wealth and how these guys did it. The generational wealth cycle, how generational wealth is made, how generational wealth is lost, 5 generational wealth killers, 14 wealth creating habits, and 11 rules of investing. So get your papers and pens out. We're going to go through this, and we're going to spend probably another hour or about an hour and 15 minutes together. So let's get right into it. Who are we going to learn from? This is the Medici family. If you haven't heard about the Medici family, there's a lot to learn from this family. And then we're going to learn from the Carnegies. We'll learn from the Vanderbilt family. We will learn from the Ford family. And then we'll also cover a little bit of Rothschild dynasty, obviously Rockefellers, and those will be the families that we'll focus on here today. So who's on the webinar today? 3 types of people. Those who want to learn how to create generational wealth, that may be you. Those have a little bit of wealth and want to get more. And some of you that are already wealthy and you want to learn how to preserve the wealth that you currently have. So either if you're 1, 2, or 3, we're going to cover all 3 here together. So Andrew Carnegie said, with access to books or educational content like this, back then they didn't have courses, but I'm sure if they did, he would have said courses as well. And the desire to learn could educate him or herself and be as successful as he had been. One more time. Anyone with access to books and the desire to learn, like yourself that you're on right now, could educate him or herself and be as successful as he had been. So here's what's taking place right now. A few different things. Amazon is the first company ever to lose $1 trillion in value. That happened this year. We got FTX files bankruptcy, Bankman-Fried steps down. We know the story about this. You're seeing it everywhere. They're talking about this, who's tied to it, who's not, celebrities, those who endorsed them. It's a messy situation. How Insight was a part of it, BlackRock, Sequoia, so many big names. A $32 billion company got $2 billion at a $32 billion valuation. Boom. Like this, it's gone. Okay. Meta lays off more than 11,000 employees, and the layoffs keep coming left and right. Homeowners have lost $1.5 trillion in equity since May as housing market continues to decline. And I can give you 50 other things on what's going on. I can talk gas prices. I can talk the direction they're predicting, unemployment to go next year, interest rate, inflation. There's so many things we can talk about. But if you consume the content, you've already seen a lot of that. So the 6 components to creating generational wealth. Number 1, mindset. Number 2, timing. Number 3, habits. Number 4, compounding. 5, strategy. 6, relationships. So let's go through them. Mindset. Creating generational wealth, you have to have the right mindset. If you don't have the right mindset, it's not going to happen. And that's not going to happen overnight. So how do you get the right mindset? By being on the right webinars, the right courses, the right books. You're constantly trying to see how those who created a ton of generational wealth think and how different it is than yours. I remember years ago, 21 years ago, I had one of my affirmations that said the following: you are where you are because of the way you think. And if you're not happy with where you are, you have to change the way you think. So if you're not happy financially where you are, it's because of the way you think. If you're not happy with your personal life, it's because of the way you think. That's part of the mindset. Number 2 is timing. This is a very important season right now of timing. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. We just came out of midterms, elections in 2 years, presidential. You just saw Trump coming out. He's running. Is it going to be DeSantis? Is it going to be Newsom? People are worried on what's going to happen with the economy. The Dow is up, but is it real? Credit cards are up. People are spending more money on credit cards right now than ever before. What does that mean? Why are people getting home equity line of credits today? And Home Depot stock is up and Walmart stock is up. Does that mean people are using their credit cards to go spend money where they're doing okay? But at the same time, the savings in America from Q1, we had $2.3 trillion in savings. We collectively were trillionaires. And that's gone from $2.3 trillion to every quarter losing $300 billion. We're down to $1.6 trillion in savings. That's like you going from $23,000 in the bank in cash to now $16,000. You think that's something you'd be talking about to your husband or your wife at night? We're saying, babe, just 6 months ago, we had $23,000 in our savings. We're at 16. That means we can only do this for 3 or 4 more quarters. Then we're running out of savings. How are we going to handle this in 2023? People are thinking, which means timing matters on how you react when the market is afraid. Number 3, habits. We're going to talk a lot about some of their habits and what they did. Number 4, compounding, which requires a lot of patience. You'll see what their strategy of patience means to them. And then some of the strategies will cover that. And then obviously relationship, the types of people you meet, the types of contacts you make, the types of people you go into business with. All of that matters a lot. That's the 6 components of generational wealth. So now the family cycle. We've read this before. This is not the first time you're seeing this. This isn't my quote. This was said by somebody else, but we've heard it. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
Okay, so I'll pause it there, but I really do encourage you, if you're seeing this live or as a replay, first we say thank you for stopping in, and then go back and look at this video in its entirety, because, you know, some of the names that he has, if not all of them, we know them to this day, right? So what did they do or not do that helped for us to know their names for today? And I think that you'll find Vanderbilt very, very, very interesting. So hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. So I'll pause there. I know that was a lot to unpack. Thank you for your patience getting through the intro. Mother, what say you? What were some of your takeaways?
The mindset. I mean, it all starts with the mindset. If you don't have the right mindset with anything, like you said, whether it's building, wealth, building a relationship, your diet, whatever, then you're not going to get where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. Not only if you don't have that mindset, but if you don't find people with the mindset you want and try to model them,
mm-hmm.
which is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I wrote from the very beginning was, if you come from an environment where generational talk has not been talked about in your family like he did with his children,
mm-hmm.
then you have no desire to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're living from paycheck to paycheck, from day to day, you're not thinking about generations down the line.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about, hey, how can I feed my family now? How can I keep that roof over my family now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's just not even a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
This thing called generational wealth.
Right.
It's not. So, I mean, definitely the mindset, the education. I mean, come on. Our education is not going to teach us about generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're spending how many hours we spend in school? 5 hours in school, and you haven't even talked about wealth, and you go home, the family's not talking about wealth, your friends are not talking about wealth. That's not even a part of your mindset.
Right.
It's not.
It's not. Mm-hmm.
So you have to work on that first.
Mm-hmm.
But I did love who was it? Rockefeller,
Mm-hmm.
and Andrew Carnegie, and what's his name? Oh, Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, Ford, and Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the movie, The Men Who Built America.
You told me about that.
Of course, you don't agree with everything they did.
Right.
But they talk about timing. When
Mm-hmm.
everybody thought the timing was bad, that's when they went in.
That's right.
That's when they went in.
Mm-hmm.
I said, wow, they went in,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what. And if they lost stuff, they knew how to rebuild it again.
Mm-hmm.
They knew how to do that. And I remember, I forgot who it was. Who was it? Vanderbilt? And he put $1 million in front of his, or was it JP Morgan? He put $1 million in front of his son. His son was like 5. his son was doing the books. He told
Mm,
his son, you don't, come to dinner until you finish doing the books. Now here's $1 million. What are you going to do with it?
wow.
His son was like 6 or 8. Like, what? So can you imagine being raised around that?
Mhm.
Like, what?
What in the
So,
world? Hmm.
so, but the thing is, a lot of these men came from nothing.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot
And
of,
then I
I
think
think
that that's
Rockefeller was dirt poor.
right.
He brought
Right.
that. I think he started off with shipping. He
Hmm.
was dirt poor.
Right. Right. And that's what I love about this family cycle. I'm going to play just a little bit of the next portion to hear how the person that he asked, like why he gave an example basically of what this actually meant. But listen to this.
Aaron McKee, who
Aaron
played for
McKee.
John Chaney, said John Chaney once told me the following. He said, my
My
grandfather
bad.
walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5 miles. I drive a Cadillac. My son drives a Mercedes. Most likely my grandson will be in a Ferrari, but my great grandson will be walking again. Okay. So what does he mean by this when he says my great grandson will be walking again? It says talking, but it's will be walking again. What does it mean? That means most people don't prepare generational wealth and generational habits. What needs to transfer are the habits, not just the money. Too often, all
What needs to transfer is the habits and not just the money. And excuse me, it wasn't that Patrick Bet David asked gentleman, but I love that because even like you said with your diet, it's not the food that gets us, it's the habit, the way in which the food is prepared that passes on generationally.
Yeah,
So I think that once we understand the habits portion, we'll be able to, as Patrick was saying, this is what's in the trust. These are the things that you have to do or not do to participate in this, because he knows from right now that if you don't follow these things, this is definitely going to go left. So you have to follow, but you just can't tell them to do it. It has to be a practice so that it becomes a habit, is
it's
what,
like they say, you have to break that generational curse.
right? And what's the generational curse for real? For real? The
I mean,
mindset.
yeah, it's the mindset, definitely.
Mm-hmm. 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 So, what another thing that he said was he makes content based on what he's learning
Yeah.
or what
Mhm.
he has learned, which is great,
Mhm.
right? So I we share what we know that works or doesn't work, and that's why we're sharing it. Or we're learning a thing and we're sharing it because it's just like, oh, this is what people need to know. So I love that. You share what it is that you have experience with, and I guess don't share if you don't have experience. I don't know. I don't know. And you are where you are in life because of the way, again, that you think.
Right. And I mean, who are you going to learn from?
Mm,
Who are you going to learn from?
yeah.
Because, like I say, the schools are not teaching you. If your parents are not teaching your friends, then who?
Hmm.
Unless you just have some kind of mystical insight and say, you know what? You know, I got to break this. I have to do this another way
Hmm.
than my family is doing.
Hmm.
And some
Yeah.
people are like that. Some
Some people
people,
are like that. We
some
definitely
people.
have those types of beings on the planet.
Mhm.
Yeah. And really tapping in, you said this earlier, the educational part. Like, when we stop learning, obviously we start dying. And I think that what you just said is so important. Like, who are you learning from? because they are, in this vast world of technology and all the things, there's so much information that's being, constantly filtered. It's just like, what are you actually tapping into? Now, of course, our wealth building system isn't the only wealth building system, but it's a wealth system for everyone to participate in, right? Because the greatest thing is your commitment level. I think I wrote on the journey, or noted that we are better at working people's jobs than we are working ourselves. Like, we'll give 100%, 98%, let's say, to a job, making sure that the performance is up to par so that we can continue to get the recognition or to get the paycheck. But do we do that same thing with self? What are we thinking? What are we nourishing ourselves with? How are we, what are we practicing, and all the things? Shayola, definitely a part of that. You have to practice you better so that you become a better version of yourself, more than you practice anything else. Does that make sense?
Yes, one thing that Eric Ray says is a network marketer adds value to people's lives. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I don't look at the news, so I don't know what they were doing. But
Mm-hmm.
come Black Friday, I'm sure people were all at the store, and people wonder every year, why do they go? And they probably buy the same, items, the flat screen TVs and everything. But they find value in that.
Mm-hmm.
That is what gives them value. Job the same way. When you get to the job, it gives you value. I'm doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't see value as, hey, giving something to their mind, their body, to their diet, to their, you know, generations down the line. They don't see that as valuable. But it's
Mm-hmm.
not their fault. We're always born into this system. So that's what we are addicted to.
That's what we're addicted to. I oftentimes think about, like, just, if you can have everything you wanted, you desired, but you have to give up this, this, and this, would you do it? And some people say, well, I don't want to have to give up anything and still desire it all. Then I think, but will that make you happy? Right? Like, you have all of the things, but you didn't have to, there was nothing to counter. Well, if I don't have a harmony, I can very well be just solely on, like a seesaw, just,
Mm-hmm.
this is all. So,
And I think deep down people know that is where the value lies,
mm-hmm,
and truly how you are feeling about yourself,
mm-hmm,
that happiness, that it
mm-hmm,
doesn't truly lie with a lot of things. But like I say, it's like an addiction, you
right,
know, because sooner or later you'll get used to that thing and then that feeling is not even there anymore.
right. You've become comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. My grandmother was using that word a lot, over the strong end. She's like, I'm comfortable. I said, but sometimes we got to get uncomfortable to be comfortable. And if we are perfectly okay in our comfortableness, it's like stagnant energy. But I definitely love, again, just this, the ways in which generational wealth is built. Again, that was mindset, timing.
Mhm.
Like they say, timing is everything,
Yes.
right? So we don't want to miss out being poor, right? Passing over opportunities repeatedly because we weren't tuned in with the times, right? Our habits, compounding, which is literally what we're learning. And it
Right.
is truly the
Mhm.
eighth wonder of the world. Strategy,
Mhm.
you have to have a plan. We just
Yes.
have to have a plan. and the relationships, right?
Yeah.
Because who you partner with is important. And greetings, greetings. Thank you so much for coming in, Cosmic Roots. The relationships that you built is important. Now, this is just a me thing. I think what was my slow to the punch with things like stocks is what really am I, what am I investing in? Who is this company? You know, if it like there's certain brands that do very, very well in the market. You know how they say, well, I won't go that far, but people get stocks because they're doing well. But what that company is selling may not be what's well for the all, right? So I don't want to buy stock in a company just because it's doing well. Now, commodities and all that other stuff is different, but you know, I really didn't understand well, maybe I wasn't supposed to, but things like 401k, who are these companies? Who am I actually investing in? And are they in turn investing in community and other things? And those are the relationships that we kind of bind ourselves to. And again, to each their own. I just personally I don't care how great a stock is doing. If it's not good for the collective, like it doesn't deserve it. I don't feel that, you know. And some business people may say, well, that's not smart, you know. I feel it, but if it don't resonate with what's going on in here, then I just don't. I'm okay.
Right.
Right.
You know, and some people they just go along with the plan. You know, oh, 401k. They're not going to research to see who's involved in the 401k. They're not going to research the stocks. You know, whether they have, you know, children over in India, you know, in a warehouse somewhere.
But maybe that's the, you know, we have a lot of power, you know, but I think, like you said, we just go along with programs because of who is delivering it and how. So we may go and get these flat screen TVs to entertain us, but we don't oftentimes use it to educate us, you know. And I love a movie. Hear me say that. But I'm not going to continuously buy flat screen TV so that I could be entertained. There's real live work, you know what I'm saying, to be done. And, you know, yeah. What were you saying, Mother?
When the other one you have is still working.
That part. If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it now. So
there you go.
You know, we have to, and that's that consumer mindset, which again, you know, I was one of those people, you know, just buying. And do you actually need that? Or you just consuming, not producing a thing, child, but just buying, consuming. And then at the end of the day, there's no real value. And you got a ton of debt for, you know, no reason at all. Yeah. So, you know, as you said, you know, it's the program that we have received. So now it's time for an upgrade in that software, because I don't know how many more thousands of years we need to really go through to see, like, yo, what we've been doing, it ain't working. Like, we know that we know it's just not working. Whether it's our grandparents, great grandparents went to work to make sure that they got land, they got this, they got that, right? Speaking from experience, but the habits and the education didn't transfer over. It was just the money. So what did I do? I blew past it, you know. So we just have to learn these cycles and really just pass on the good habits, and really having something in place to say, okay, well, if you adopt the bad habits, this is what can happen. And if you are not willing to do all that needs to be done to keep these particular habits going, then you can't participate over here. And that's because of the choice that you made, nothing else, because of the choices that you made.
And children have to see their parents not always spending.
That's the
because
truth.
that's what they're going to think the money is for, to spend, and not to invest.
No, that's real. And I didn't know, and I've said this before, that cash is meant to be spent. It's not meant to be saved. So we
Right.
spend a lot of time striving to save cash that has absolutely no value in institutions that don't mean us well at all, just to suffer from inflation. And now we got to go get another job because we can't keep up, you know?
Mm.
So it's definitely, this time with my grandmother over the weekend was very enlightening. And just seeing her now in later years say, you know what, I wish I would have known better because I would have taught you all better. And, shout out to her for, at 89 years old saying, I don't know what all of this is, but I'm gonna pay closer attention, because she says, I go shopping all the time and most of the stuff that I have, I just don't need. And it's just like, how much of that could have gone to generational wealth building? Now it's just stuff that's in one of these, clothes dump things in,
Oh.
in the parking lots. She said, I put my
Mm.
clothes in there, and sometimes when I go by, I see people just dig them out. Yeah, that's where your cash went,
Yes.
dumpster.
Mm.
So, but anywho, we are winding down on time. Any closing remarks, Mother, from whatever?
Mm. Um, I guess we just have to ask ourselves some serious questions,
Mm-hmm.
about where we want our life to go, where we want, our lives to go as far as wealth, as far
Mm-hmm.
as closing that wealth gap.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really don't want to see, my grandchildren and their children still talking about, we're still behind as far as the
Right,
wealth gap.
right, right. We still behind. Like, the wealth
Mm,
gap has changed none in the last 100 years.
right.
Of course, it's
So
by design, but we
right,
got
but
to learn the game. You
we
got to
keep
get in the
hearing
game.
this and hearing it, and I just hope a lot of our young people will just wake up. I really do, boy,
Yeah,
because this is the next movement. It has to be.
it has to be.
It has to be the next movement. Financial wealth.
And making it not about the money. Just,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it does come with great responsibility. I mean, yeah. Cosmin Root says that we need to invest in land, food, and farming. I mean, we really do. I mean, that's how we survive. You have to have land and you have to have food to eat. It's just, we really have to, get out of that victim mentality.
But if it's the wealth that's going to get you the land.
Right. But if
What I'm
you're,
saying, because if you have land in your family, if you can't hold on to it,
which is
because
true,
you can't pay the property taxes, because that has happened to so many of us.
right? I mean, that's real. And that's because the practice wasn't, and the habits weren't transferred over. Like, these are the
Right.
rules of the game. They're probably going to try to change them up on you. So you need to be up on the rules of the game so that you're always a step ahead, because they stay playing chess and we out here playing checkers, or we haven't even opened the box to the checkers.
Right. Like you say, strategize.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying, if we're not strategizing about our money, someone else is.
Absolutely.
It's as simple
Wealth,
as that.
Africa Sankofa says wealth is built over time. Absolutely. And when do we start doing that?
You got to start now.
We got to start
You
now.
got to start now. You
But
have
then
you have
some
to
of us,
you have to take that quote and make it an action. So you have to start now.
we have to start now. And the starting now is with education.
Education, and
Mm-hmm.
do whatever you have. Do that with whatever you have. Don't say, well, wow, I got to do this. What can you sacrifice? If you know that's what you want to do, what is it that you have to sacrifice to get there?
Mm-hmm.
One step at a time, but just Start
Start.
somewhere. Start somewhere.
Right. Right. That's real. How's
Education,
the
mindset.
resource now? Yeah, mindset and education. It doesn't get any. There's no way around it. Same thing with
Mhm.
the health. People, oh, I didn't know that. Word, I didn't know it too. And
Mm.
it took me 3
Yeah.
hospital visits and a bankruptcy to be like, you know what? Maybe I should start
Mm.
learning how this thing works because, honey, you racking up bills and dis-ease like it ain't nobody's business. But I didn't know any better. So, but anywho, for real this time. We have drive time at 5 with Brother Eric. I'll repost that to my page. So if you are on Facebook, Shayola Yeye segment, definitely pass on by. We are going to be discussing this starting right now. Continue to bring light to the body. Absolutely. Ooh, we have something coming, but I'll wait till the official announcement to share. But again, if you are available, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, drive time with Brother Eric Teray Muhammad and Dr. Tyrone Best, we will be talking about how you can get started right now. Free your free your mind, and the rest will follow. Okay, now, so yeah. And so I'm vaguely reading like the comments. I see someone saying here, African Sankofa, that partner okay. So they're saying they're partner with lucrative opportunities. And again, as long as those opportunities, are available to the multitude, that's where we're at. We have something that is for the multitude, for everybody, no matter what your tax bracket is. Right now, this is where, we are. So, let's not be poor in the mind, passing over opportunities repeatedly. So with that, hopefully we'll see you at 5 or at 9 o'clock tonight for our wealth building event. Until next Monday, we say peace, light, and wholeness.